A World War II American nurse returned to Omaha Beach in France, 75 years after the D-Day landings. In 1943, Leila Morrison had just graduated from nursing school when she joined the U.S. Army Air Forces. She trained at several bases, including Lowry Field in Denver, Santa Ana Air Base, and Camp Bowie in Texas. Shortly after, she was transferred to the Army and quickly commissioned as an officer. While at Camp Bowie, she attended a dance and met a handsome Army officer named Walter Morrison. Walter proposed almost immediately, but she politely declined, believing wartime was not the right time for marriage. They maintained correspondence throughout the war.
Says it's the images not captured on film she still sees the most.
About 30 days after the Normandy landings, Leila arrived on the beaches with only a small bag. She worked on the front lines, tirelessly saving countless soldiers' lives amid relentless gunfire. She called Omaha Beach a sacred ground, remembering the young faces that never returned, the parachutes still caught in trees, and the terrifying moments that unfolded around her. Even 75 years later, these memories remained vivid, etched in her mind.
You never forget that.
But now, a chance to make a new album for Normandy.
A lot of memories that would.
In 2019, at the age of 97, she returned to Normandy as part of a commemorative trip organized by the Best Defense Foundation. For nearly 11 days, she walked the same beaches, creating new memories while reflecting on the lives she had helped save. Leila passed away a week after celebrating her 100th birthday, leaving behind a legacy of courage, service, and unforgettable memories from a life devoted to others.
Oh, dear Father in heaven, thank you for saving me. And how I thank these men that gave up their lives for us. Oh, thank you.
70 years after D-Day, Sergeant Major Robert Blatnik stepped once again onto Omaha Beach. The sand beneath his boots was heavy with history, carrying the echoes of gunfire, the cries of soldiers, and the weight of lives lost. He knelt, eyes closed, silently praying for the 400 comrades who never returned, whispering their names to the wind.
We had 901 men. When we finally got a count the next day, I think we had 387. So that was terrible.
Born on a farm in Ohio in 1918, Blatnik enlisted in 1938, driven by love for his country. Assigned to the 1st Infantry Division, 26th Regiment, he trained with the engineers, mastering the art of mapping terrain. He fought in North Africa, Sicily, and Italy, earning a Silver Star and multiple Purple Hearts. On June 6, 1944, he led 900 men onto Omaha Beach under relentless enemy fire. And by the end of the first hour, only 380 survived.
Well, that's why all the guy says, let's dig in, Sergeant. Like hell, we got to get up off there. Just you dig your grave here. We got to get up to find the enemy. That's the only way we'll survive.
After the war, Blatnik continued serving others, volunteering at the VA for over 9,000 hours, and dedicating his life to fellow veterans. Yet nothing moved him as much as returning to Omaha Beach. He walked slowly, feeling each step, remembering friends who never returned, imagining their courage and fear. He knelt again, tears streaming down his face, hands clasped, his heart heavy with gratitude and sorrow.
And it was that sound over and over.
Over and over, just constant.
The wind carried the voices of history, and he whispered promises to honor their memory forever. Robert Blatnik passed away at the age of 100. But on that sand, and in the hearts of those who hear his story, his courage, his love for his comrades, and his lifelong devotion to others, remain immortal. The plane touches down, carrying the remains of Army Major James J. O'Donovan, returning home after more than 80 years. In April 2025, he was laid to rest with full military honors at Miramar National Cemetery in San Diego. His daughter and grandsons received the folded American flag, paying tribute to a soldier whose courage and sacrifice will never be forgotten. Born in Cohoes, New York, Major O'Donovan was one of the most highly decorated officers of World War II. While still in school, he joined the New York Army National Guard, eventually becoming a respected officer and a professor of military science before the war. But when Japan invaded the Philippines in December 1941, duty called him back to the battlefield. As executive officer of the 3rd Battalion, 31st Infantry Regiment, he led his men through some of the war's most desperate battles. At Lyack Junction, under 8 hours of heavy artillery fire, he rallied retreating troops, organized a counterattack, and rebuilt the defensive line, earning the Silver Star and Bronze Star for his bravery. Yet courage alone could not withstand hunger, disease, and overwhelming enemy forces. In April 1942, Bataan fell. O'Donovan became one of 78,000 prisoners forced to endure the infamous 65-mile Bataan Death March, where thousands perished. He survived the march but died months later of disease and starvation at Cabanatuan POW camp, aged just 34. For decades, he was listed as missing in action. In 2024, the U.S. Department of Defense officially identified his remains. In April 2025, Major O'Donovan was finally laid to rest with full military honors. His family received the folded flag, honoring a man whose courage, sacrifice, and loyalty to his comrades will never be forgotten.
At 98 years old, Sergeant Vincent Speranza of the legendary 101st Airborne Division did something extraordinary. On March 25, 2023, he climbed aboard the Tico Bell, a C-47 aircraft that once carried soldiers into the D-Day landings of World War II. This time, instead of flying into combat, Vincent prepared to jump once more. This time for remembrance.
Slowly going, having a way tonight. He ain't gonna jump no more.
Speranza's life has always been marked by courage. As a young paratrooper, he trained for the toughest missions and fought as a machine gunner in the frozen forests of Bastonia during the Battle of the Bulge. Those memories of hardship, loss, and brotherhood stayed with him for decades. He later shared them in his memoir, Nuts, capturing both the horror and resilience of war. Now, 8 decades later, his body may ache, his breath may be shallow, but his spirit remains unbroken. As the AC-47's doors opened, the roar of the engines carried him back to 1945. With one leap, Vincent joined the sky again. In that moment, it seemed as though the ghosts of fallen comrades filled the clouds, voices calling his name, smiles frozen in time. When his boots finally touched the ground, cheers erupted. A glass of whiskey was raised, echoing Bastonia's defiance. With a steady voice, Vincent said, "I lived long enough. This is for you." Not just a jump, not just a soldier, but a promise kept to those who never came home.
In August 2025, 100-year-old World War II veteran Frank S. Wright stood tall once again in Stockton, California, as he was promoted from sergeant to honorary sergeant. Nearly 79 years after his first retirement, the U.S. Marine Corps honored his lifetime of courage, sacrifice, and devotion. With General Eric M. Smith's approval, his sons proudly pinned the new rank on their father's uniform. Friends, fellow veterans, and community members looked on with admiration and respect, celebrating a life defined by bravery and dedication. Frank's story began at just 16, inspired by President Franklin D. Roosevelt's call that every man, woman, and child can contribute to the greatest cause in history. He lied about his age to enlist. Too young and underweight, he used his brother's birthday and even stuffed bananas into his jacket to pass the physical. Once in the Marines, he joined the 4th Raider Battalion, later serving with the 21st Regiment and 3rd Division, stepping into some of the most brutal battles of the Pacific War. He fought on Guadalcanal, New Georgia, Guam, and Iwo Jima. On Guam, he was stabbed in the abdomen during close combat. On Iwo Jima, machine gun fire hit his chest and arm. Despite these severe injuries, Wright survived, and after the war, he served as an instructor before retiring honorably in 1946.
And as I was falling, he lunged at me, and he stuck me in the stomach, and I fell. And about that time, the kid next to me, who had been in there, he saw the problem that I was having, and he shot him in the back. He fell down on top of me. He wasn't dead yet. When I fell, my hand hit the gung-ho knife that I had been using, and I pulled it out of the ground like that.
Over his military career, Wright earned 2 Purple Hearts, Presidential Unit Citations, Navy Unit Commendations, multiple campaign medals, Combat Action Ribbons, the Victory Medal, and the Good Conduct Medal. From a determined teenage enlistee to a centenarian honorary sergeant, Frank S. Wright's life embodies the courage, sacrifice, and unyielding spirit of the U.S. Marines. His story is a living reminder of the cost of freedom and the enduring power of bravery, inspiring everyone fortunate enough to hear it. In 1942, at Altus Air Force Base, a young woman named Peggy first heard of Lieutenant Billy D. Harris through letters. What began as hesitant exchanges slowly grew into love. They married, but only 6 weeks later, Billy was sent to war.
Billy was married to me all of his life, and I choose to be married to him all of my life.
On July 17, 1944, during a mission over Normandy, Billy never came home. Confusing reports followed: missing, alive, buried here, then somewhere else. For 60 years, Peggy searched for the truth. She never remarried, never let go. In 2005, everything changed. A French woman had requested Billy's records, and Peggy discovered her husband was buried in Normandy. In the town of Levant, people had never forgotten him. Billy had steered his crippled plane away from their homes, crashing into the woods to save them. To honor his sacrifice, they named the main road Place Billy D. Harris, and each year, the town marched in his memory. When Peggy visited, they welcomed her as family. From then on, she brought flowers to his grave 10 times every year, on anniversaries, birthdays, Valentine's Day, and more. At a Veterans Day ceremony, she received a folded flag in his honor.
Conscious enough to know that a friend stood by him. And that this man was that friend.
Peggy said, "Billy was married to me his whole life, and I chose to be married to him my whole life." A love story became a legend, a promise kept for eternity.